Hello there folks, back again for another video. Been away for a little while, enjoying the festive season, but I'm back because loads of news dropped for the old world, and as anyone who knows me will know, I'm quite a fan of the old Warhammer Fantasy Battles, and so it's really nice to see this popping up sooner than everyone expected. Pre-orders for this go live as of filming this tomorrow, so on the 6th of January, and I believe the full game's going to be out for people to dive in and pick up from the 20th, so folks will be able to get their hands on all the models and the rulebooks and everything else in between. So I thought it'd just be a fun thing now to sort of dive in and go through what's been talked about so far over the last couple of weeks. Since we got the news of the announcement, there's been quite a few sort of additional things popping up here and there about the old world from Warcom and stuff like that, where they've kind of gone into a little bit more detail about different things as part of the game and everything. So I thought I'd just sort of condense all of that down. So we'll start things off with what's going to be available as part of that sort of launch package. So instead of there being a one starter set, as they tend to do for a lot of games, they're actually going to be breaking this down into two. So there's two core sets to begin things. There's the Kingdom of Bretonnia edition of this, which comes with the models that you see there. So you get the Lord of Bretonnia on Royal Pegasus leading them, alongside the Men-at-Arms, the Archers, the Knights of the Realm, and the Knights on Pegasi. And then you also get the rulebook in there, the reference sheet, and all the extra goings that you need to play as the Bretonnians. It'll be interesting to see whether or not they include anything for actually playing this force out of the box, because obviously that's tied into something else that's coming out in terms of other books. So unless that reference sheet comes with additional stuff on the back for kind of stats for your models, that could be quite interesting. I suppose we'll find out when people actually crack into the boxes and see what's inside them. But yeah, so that's what's coming out for Kingdom of Bretonnia. On the Tomb Kings side of things, you've got the same sort of basic set of stuff as we've seen previously. So you've got the rulebook in there, the reference sheet, and all that kind of good stuff. Then you have the Lich Priest on the back of the Necrolith Bone Dragon, and the Tomb Prince, who can be either attached to the top of that, riding on the back of the dragon, or you can have him separately. I think it's probably a good idea to have him separately, although of course you could do the same thing with the Priest and you could mix and match things if you wanted to. You then get loads of skeleton warriors with spears. You've got some with bows. You've got the skeletal archers on the back of their horses. You've got your random sort of skeleton cavalry there with spears too, and then you have the three chariots, which is quite iconic within the Tomb Kings. There we go, so very nice. And of course everything you'll need to play is basically inside there, again, apart from maybe the rules for actually playing with the models in the set. I guess we'll see how that comes out. Maybe there'll be like something on the back of the build manual or something in there that'll help you out on that front. But yes, in addition to the two sets that you see there, they're also going to be doing these books. So if you already have an army like me for the dwarves, or my friend's got ogres, this is where you're probably going to be starting things out from. So you're going to get the main rulebook, which will contain everything you need to play the game, including all of your basic and advanced rules. Although with Warhammer Fantasy Battles, and I'm sure with Old World, everybody just dived in and used all the rules anyway, regardless of the fact that it said advanced. So yes, that's all going to be encased within there, including rules for building your armies and getting ready to take to the tabletop and fight battles in all sorts of different ways, and all that good stuff. After watching the battle report that they did, which was this one here, it actually seems like the game plays a lot like sort of 7th and 8th, but with a couple of additional things thrown in there for good measure, which kind of make it quicker to play, but also playing around with some different things that have been sort of taken from historical war games, like the way that units break and retreat from combat and stuff like that. So yeah, it's an interesting one, and it's well worth giving this video a watch. I'll make sure that there's a link down below so you can go check it out. It's really nice that Games Workshop put this out as a free video for people to go and watch, because I'm sure there's quite a lot of people who play like the likes of Total War Warhammer who are going to want to dive in and pick this up and have some fun with it, and this is a great way to kind of get people invested in that. So yeah, very nice little thing there from Games Workshop to include. When it comes to the rules for your different armies, they're split between two books, so it's a little bit like the kind of stuff that we would have seen for Horus Heresy and things, you get effectively good and evil. So on the good side of things, in Forces of Fantasy, you get the rules for the Dwarven Mountain Holds, the Empire of Man, the Kingdom of Bretonnia, the Wood Elf Realms, and the High Elf Realms. And on the other side of things, with Ravening Hordes, which is quite a nice little callback to classic books and supplements that have come out for Warhammer in the past, you get the Orc and Goblin tribes, the Warriors of Chaos, the Beastmen Brayherds, and, as you can see there, the Tomb Kings of Khemri. I would imagine that a lot of kind of old school Warhammer fans are probably going to pick up these 3 books and use this as the basis for their armies going forward. Certainly good if you're going to be playing as one of the forces that isn't necessarily getting that big range of models released effectively right away. So it's nice to see that they've got that out there in the world for people to have some fun with and start building some fun armies. Now, effectively, those are the only 3 books that you need to play the game. As long as you've got the models, you can jog on and have some fun with it, and it's all be grand. But some additional things are going to be coming out. So they're not army books because all of the rules for your army are included in these. But these arcane journals, so there's one for the Kingdoms of Bretonnia and there's one for the Tomb Kings of Khemri, which you can see later on in this. They contain additional lore, backgrounds, special characters, ways of making themed armies, so based around crusades and stuff in this sense, or with the Tomb Kings you can do it around the mortuary cults and things like that. So they've thrown in some additional bits and pieces in here for people who really want to go that extra mile with their armies and start playing the game with a few more extra bits and pieces in there, maybe some additional lore, building on your characters and that kind of stuff. So kind of interesting there. It's those 3 heroes of legend and the 2 armies of infamy that I think is quite interesting there. So definitely stuff that people are going to pick up if you're a fan of Bretonnia. But if you're somebody who is just diving in and wants to try the game out with some of the old models, you just need those 3 books, or just 2 books to be honest, actually, if you are only collecting good or something like that. So yeah, very cool. You've obviously got a whole host of plastic and metal miniatures alongside Forge World resin ones coming out. So you've got the likes of the Battle Standard Bearer on the Royal Pegasus, the Pegasus Knights, which are one of the old classic plastic kits, the Grail Knights and their Grail Knight Command, which is a mix between metal and plastic. So you've got your plastic horses and your metal riders, your Battle Pilgrims and the Grail Reliquary, which is a set that I really like, and I really enjoyed those classic Pilgrims. They were very cool. I really enjoyed those as models. Your Mounted Yeoman and your Mounted Yeoman Command as well, which I thought was really nice. So that's a classic kit that a lot of people really enjoyed back in the day, and it's nice to see that back on the forefront. In terms of the Forge World resins, there's the Handmaiden of the Lady, as you can see there. The Battle Standard Bearer on foot and mounted. Very nice model. The Questing Knight Paladin with the Great Weapon, which I think is a really cool character. Very nice sculpt. Good to see that still carried through. And then, of course, you can get yourself some peripheries on the side as well, which are all probably going to sell out very, very quickly. So you've got the Kingdom of Bretonnia reference cards and dice there. Same things happening for the Tomb Kings on that front as well. So, again, the Arcane Journal for the Tomb Kings of Khemri and the Tomb Guard there as well. Really nice little plastic kit, that one. Very cool. I know a lot of people are going to be picking that up and having some fun with that, doing some kit bashing. The Sepulchral Stalkers, which can be built as the Necropolis Knights. Again, kits from kind of 7th and 8th edition that people really, really liked. And it's just good to see them back on the tabletop. As someone who collected the dwarves back in the day and will now collect the Dwarven Mountain Holds, it's nice to see that they're bringing back a whole suite of different models from across the range. And hopefully that means that we'll maybe even see some of the models that didn't quite make the release before the end times happened and the switch to Age of Sigmar. So maybe that lost, fabled plastic dwarf kit will finally see the light of day. I think that could be quite nice. And a nice little gift from the Focus Games Workshop. You've also got the Necrosphinx there, alongside the Khemri and War Sphinx. And obviously you can have a separate model if you want there with the Tomb King. And have some fun on that front. Scepter of the Imperishable comes out as well, which is quite cool. The Lich Priest. Now, this was one interesting one because someone pointed out on social media that this was and obviously take this with a pinch of salt because it was someone on social media, but they said that this was a exclusively Finecast model when it came out. And now they're saying that this is going to be coming in metal, so it looks like anything that was fine cast is now just going to be cast in metal, and then there'll be that distinct sort of break point effectively between the two. So you'll have the metal and plastic range, which is the Games Workshop stuff, and then you'll have the Forge World resin things. There will not be any fine cast in there, which I think is a welcome addition to the news about Warhammer the Old World. The Ushabti, the really awesome sort of constructs from the Tomb King faction have been brought back out with their weapons and their bows. Very nice models indeed. And on the Forge World front, you've got the Tomb King there, the Battle Standard Bearer, and the Tomb Swarms as well. And then there's the reference cards and your dice set as well, which I think is quite nice. As a more general thing, they're also doing this set, so you've got your kind of generic Warhammer the Old World dice, some card sleeves if you want those, alongside a selection of magical items and Laws of Magic cards. I would imagine these are probably going to sell out quite quickly, so if you do want these, you probably want to be diving in on that pre-order fairly early. But yeah, hopefully they've put some systems in place to make it so that it's not too much of a fight to get your hands on these models when it rolls around tomorrow. They're also going to be doing separate basing and stuff like that. It should be pointed out that if you're diving into the old world and you have your old army, if you're going to be just playing the game casually against your friends, you're not playing in a competitive format or whatever like that against randoms and stuff, as long as you are happy with the basing that you had originally, it's not going to make a massive issue, so you don't have to do the rebasing. It'll be negligible, if anything. On top of that, if you are worried a little bit about the kind of expansion of the regiments in terms of their sizes because of the new bases, you could just build the footprint to match the new footprints for the regiments. Then you don't have to worry about doing all of the individual rebasing. You just make a regiment tray that will hold the models, and that's fine. That will be great. You don't have to worry too much about it. But anyway, they're going to be doing regiment trays in the old classic style as they did, where you could sort of snap them and cut them and then build them up to use with the bases that are coming out as well. A few other bits and pieces coming out too, so you can get things like the old world map and stuff like that. Fair enough, I guess. But a really interesting selection of stuff coming out for both of the starting factions, the Bretonnians and the Tomb Kings, the kind of olive branch, the expensive olive branch, to those people who lost these factions when the end times happened and the move to Age of Sigmar. So it's really nice to see that these are being fleshed out in a really good way, and it kind of paves the way for lots of fun things to happen with the other factions as well. Later on down the line when they come out, we've already seen a little bit of a preview, or a leak anyway, of the Dwarven Mountain Holds dice popping up, so they can't be that far away. I would imagine they're going to be twinned with something like the Orcs and Goblins. That could be quite a nice thing to do, or maybe do them with the Elves perhaps. We shall see. When it comes to factions that aren't covered by Forces of Fantasy and Ravening Hordes, I believe that the idea is that when the game launches on the 20th, so the end of the month, there will be a PDF pack of the other factions, the other races that you can play as, basically just available as a free download. So you'll be able to get those, and if you're somebody who's playing the likes of the Skaven or the Vampire Counts or the Ogre Kingdoms and things like that, you'll just be able to get that PDF and just start playing the game. And if you're someone who has a friend who's already bought the rulebook, this one here, then you don't have to worry about buying anything else. You've got your old models, and away you go. I will also say one of the nice things about this that I think is really cool is that obviously all of the old models are going to be coming back slowly over time, and they'll be available for people to pick up, hopefully with not too many issues when it comes to production. And so if you're somebody who dives in and you feel like you don't necessarily want to play the old world, well, if you've got the old rulebook for 8th or 7th or 6th, you've suddenly now got all of the old models again, so you can just play one of the old red books and just have fun with that and enjoy the game. So if anything, if you're like one of those people who's like, oh, I preferred 8th or I preferred 7th or anything like that, or you play this and you actually feel like you preferred the older game, then at least you've now got the models out there, the official models from Games Workshop, to start building your armies. That's not to say that you can't just use other stuff from other companies. There are loads of amazing models out there from the likes of Avatars of War, Highland Miniatures, all sorts of different things. Go and pick up some armies, have some fun with it, and dive in and see what you think. When it comes to the actual development of the game and sort of talking about that. They've done this really nice sort of almanac that they've been running over the last couple of months, I guess, where they've been talking about the different phases of the game and how it all works. I've kind of got my head a little bit more around the rules once we've seen this Let's Play or the battle report here, because this was a really good way of kind of like showing it all off. They didn't do too much in terms of formations and stuff, but it was good to see the very core of how things worked in terms of the likes of morale and the way that combats were played out. It seems like it's got a little bit of finicky movement that people like from rank and flank, so you are going to be moving things around quite nicely and sort of taking things in different directions and trying to set up interesting flanks and rear charges and that kind of stuff. But it does feel like it's not too messy, so they've built on it in some areas without making it feel too hefty or too weighty, which I think is quite nice. But for those people who really liked older editions of Warhammer Fantasy Battles, I think you'll find something here that you'll enjoy. So yeah, very nice on that front, and definitely worth watching that video, as I say again. It's also really good to dive into these 4 articles here. So these have been done with the design team behind the game, and all of these are great reads, and it's nice to read some of the lore and stuff like that, but these have been really insightful, and they've come from a variety of different team members, including Rob and stuff like that. And it's been really interesting seeing the development of the game and where they've taken it and sort of where they've wanted to place it. So obviously this is set before the time of Magnus the Pious, and before the battle against Chaos with Asavar Kull and stuff like that. So they've taken things back a step. That doesn't mean that technology has taken too much of a step back. You're still going to get things like handguns and that kind of stuff. Still going to get steam tanks. The dwarves, by that measure, I would imagine, are going to get a lot of their stuff in there as well, like gyrocopters and all the different cannons and organ guns and things like that too. So you'll still be able to use all of the models that you previously had. But it's kind of them looking at sort of what is the Horus Heresy, what is the setup for the end times and the Warhammer Fantasy Battles that people loved back in the day. And this feels like it's going to be tracking that through both the rules, the development of the factions, the new books that they're bringing out, like the new one by Graham McNeil and stuff like that. And it really feels like they've put a lot of effort into this, and you can see that there's a lot of love for the classic game here, especially because they keep referencing like a lot of the classic art as well. Nothing's been overly done to kind of change the aesthetic of the game. A lot of it still remains very much the same. They've got that kind of Kapinski, Adrian Smith style sketchy feel to a lot of the artwork in the books and things that we've seen already. So it's really nice to see that following through, and I just can't wait to open the book and have a look at it, really. I do sound a bit, I guess, like I'm fanboying a little bit about the old world at the moment, and I haven't even opened the book, but I was such a massive fan of Warhammer Fantasy, and it was one of the main reasons that I got into wargaming as a whole. And so to have this be coming back to the tabletop in an official capacity just is really cool. So yeah, they've done one on the lore, they've done one on developing the miniatures and the graphic design for the game, which is quite nice. Talking about painting and art styles. I mean, those are great. I love those, especially in that kind of faded sepia. That is so reminiscent of classic Warhammer. It's so good. They've done one on painting miniatures and sort of how you bring them to life, which I think is quite nice. No way is anybody going to use that amount of detail when it comes to painting their models. It's just not going to happen. And then they've done one on sort of everything else. So developing the game and magic and all that kind of good stuff as well, which I think is quite nice. And there you go, the legacy factions. How they're going to fit into the free downloadable army list. So can people get into the new system with their older collections? They won't be considered legal for tournaments, and they won't receive ongoing support, but they will be there. So if you are one of those people who wants to play one of the other factions, they are going to be in the mix, which I think is quite nice. I would really hope that Skaven and Vampire counts get added back into the mix sooner rather than later, because I think they're really, really awesome. But anyway, lots of fun stuff for people to be diving into and having fun with. I'm excited for the old world. I know a lot of other people are online as well. It definitely seems like Games Workshop has put a lot of effort into this, It has taken a long time to come to life. It's a far throw from where I thought we were going to be with this. As I've talked about with other people, it feels like at the beginning of this, we thought we were going to see them do like a really interesting thing with Kislev and Cathay. Maybe they are still somewhere in the background, but they're not at all mentioned in anything we've seen so far in terms of the development of the game and the roadmap that they have. I assume they're somewhere down the line because they put all the effort into doing all the graphic design and stuff for them earlier in the process. Maybe it just didn't fit with what they wanted to do. Maybe the fact that they had the Tomb Kings and the Bretonnian stuff already sitting there just seemed like a good shout to start things out, I suppose. But yeah, the old world is a big place, and there's lots of different things that they can do with it if they put their mind to it. And I'm hoping that this is a good enough success that people will buy back into it and have some fun with it over the coming months. So yeah, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Do you like the direction that the old world is taking? Have you watched that battle report? Do you think it's going to be one that will inspire you to maybe pick up a new army? I know that I previously talked about the fact that I would really love to do dwarves again, maybe starting with a new force. We'll see what the set is like for them, I guess, when it comes out. But I'm also really tempted by high elves. I've never done a high elf army, and I've always really wanted to, so maybe that could be a new start for me. Do like a White Lions of Thrace style force. That could be quite cool. But either way, I think I might do a video in the near future where I dive into my battle foam bag full of old models and just have a look at what's there and sort of assemble it up into a neat force and see where we go from there when it comes to building up hobby assets for playing the old world and things like that. But yes, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Like, share, subscribe to all that good stuff. And as I say, the most important thing is developing the conversation and having a chat about things. So tell me what you think about the old world as it stands and where you're going to go with it in the near future. I'll be back for another video very, very soon. But yeah, bye for now.